Hi, welcome to a new video. My name is Leonor and today I'm here to do the Booktube Newbie Tag. I technically started my channel maybe 6 months ago. I mostly do reading vlogs and kind of cozy vlogs, but I wanted to do this tag as a way to kind of present myself and share my intentions with this Booktube channel. So I think let's just get right into it. The first question is, why did you start this channel? The answer to that is pretty straightforward. I love photography and film. I love reading, and I just wanted to talk about my reading experiences. I wanted to talk about the books I'm reading and to bring cozy content to whoever needs it. The second question is, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to Booktube? I feel like nowadays the world moves very quickly. Everyday life is non-stop. You wake up, go to work, come back, make dinner, clean the house, go to sleep, restart the next day, try to meet friends and family at the end of the days or on the weekends, and it's just too much sometimes. I always found reading an escape, but I also find that connecting with the present, making food, baking, connecting with nature, walking in nature, that sort of thing really helps me to de-stress, be in the present moment, and just enjoy life. And so I wanted to connect all of these things with my love of video and photography and just share that and put that into the world, hopefully inspire and just bring a little bit of happiness to anyone that needs it. And I've said that again, sorry. But yes, I think that's what I can bring. I can bring a little bit of respite from normal life. Hopefully some book inspiration as well. Third question is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? I'm really most excited to just meet anyone that has a love for books and wants to make the most of the little moments in life. Yeah, I want to carve time to read more, which making these videos have inspired me and will continue to inspire me to read more books. The fourth question is, why do you love reading? As an introvert, I have always had difficulty making connections with people, and reading has always been not only escapism for me, but also a way to be able to connect with people and to the world around me. I love meeting new characters and following them through their journeys and adventures. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. I just love listening and seeing new perspectives. But as an introvert, I just have a lot of difficulty doing that in actual real life. So I use books as a way to pretend that I'm having those connections and listening to different views of the world. Question number 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? And this is a very difficult question for me because I have always read. Since I was a baby, my parents started reading to me, and I never stopped. I literally have a photo, which I will insert here, of myself reading on my bed when I was maybe 7 years old. But actually 2 series that I really loved, and I read more than one book, and I asked my parents to get more of those books, was Enid Blyton's CLARE'S series. It follows twins, and they go to this boarding school, and they just get up to mayhem with their friends. I also loved the Georgia series, it's a weird name, but it's by Lucy and Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking and his daughter. They both wrote this science fiction series of George exploring the universe. I read, I think, the first and the second book, and I still think about them sometimes. Those were my childhood series. Basically, I had various phases in my life. as anyone does. And I have a few series that really marked those moments in time. As a teenager, I became obsessed with this. It's a Brazilian series, so I read it in the original language, which is Portuguese from Brazil. The first book has been translated into English, and the name of the series in English is FANI'S Premiere. It's a romance series and a coming-of-age story about a Brazilian girl that comes to England for a year to study. But the first book is set in Brazil. She applies to come study in the UK, but during that book she falls in love with a boy, and so they then have to deal with the fact that she's moving away for a year, and they do that during the second book. She then goes back, there's more shenanigans on the third book, and finally she moves to the United States, where they then reconnect years later during the fourth book. The whole thing also has to do with her loving stories and wanting to study cinema and be a writer. So it's just, honestly, it really inspired me to follow my dream to study abroad, which I did. It really molded me into what I am today, which is why I wanted to mention it. The penultimate series that I want to mention is Harry Potter, which I read really late in life, having into account that I am of the generation that was like following the films when they were coming out. I did not watch any of them. Actually, that is a lie. I watched one, the second film, and I was so afraid of the giant spiders and the basilisk that I cried and called my mom to come get me. This is a very embarrassing story. I remember knowing that Harry Potter was a really big thing, but I was so traumatized by my experience watching the second movie that I just completely wrote it out until I finally discovered Booktube. And I felt like I should read and watch the Harry Potter movies and books because it's just part of pop culture. And I did that when I was 17 years old, and I loved it so much, but so much, that I spent the next 5 years basically just rereading it. I read a few other books in between, but none stayed with me really. I find it really weird that within those 5 years I never discovered that there was a whole world of fantasy books out there that I could have gotten myself into, and I just didn't for some reason. So I read and reread Harry Potter throughout my final years of high school and my university years. And then finally, I have to thank my friend Hannah. Right at the end of 2019, she gave me a list of fantasy recommendations because she knew I had been reading and rereading Harry Potter for years. And she gave me that list. I got a Amazon Kindle gift card for my birthday. I got all of the books on her list, and I read my final series was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I remember clearly reading that on the final days of the year. I just started The Cruel Prince and I did not stop until I finished the whole series, and that was right before 2020 started. And I never stopped. I went from one book series to another. I read Percy Jackson, I read Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows, The Raven Boys. I read many of the Cassandra Clare books, and I'm still catching up. But yeah, the Cruel Prince series really kickstarted, after obviously Harry Potter, it really kickstarted my adult reading life, even though I'm still reading YA books. And I'm super grateful for my friend Hannah and all her recommendations, because if not, I would still be stuck rereading Harry Potter. Moving on, now we have question number 6, and that is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? And that for me is really easy to answer. I just want to know how to reach people. I really just want to bring a little bit of inspiration and comfort to anyone that needs it. But for that, I need to reach those people, and I would just love to know how to do that in the most effective way, really. So that would definitely be my first question, with no doubts whatsoever, how to reach people. Question number 7 is, what challenges do you think a Booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Having the time to read the books and edit the videos, that is my biggest worry. I haven't been able to balance it yet very well. Sometimes I have to kind of finish the books as quickly as possible so I can actually finish the video and edit it and all of that. Other times I've read the books immediately and then it's been weeks and I haven't had time to actually edit the video. It takes a long time to read books and it takes a long time to edit videos. And if you want to be consistent, I think that's going to be my biggest challenge, at least to start. We'll then see where this goes and how many other challenges come with that. The next question I've actually already answered, which is, when did you start reading? And the answer is, I have no idea, because I've always read. I don't remember a year that I haven't read at least a couple of books. And those would have been my worst years when I was at university. I've always read so much, basically every night. I actually have a kind of embarrassing story, which I will share with you. I got my parents to read for me in bed before I went to sleep, basically every night until I was 10 years old. When I was around 9 years old, we made a kind of pact that my mom would read for me on one night and then I would read by myself, and then my dad would read with me, and then I would read by myself, and then it would restart. So my parents didn't actually have to spend at least an hour every evening reading to me, having into account that I was already 9 years old. Question 9 is, where do you read? And my answer is pretty straightforward. Anywhere, everywhere, at all times. I use my Kindle a lot, and I've had it, actually this is the second one I have, but I've had a Kindle for 11 years, and I listen to audiobooks a lot as well. And so I read basically all the time when I'm working, cooking, eating, in the shower, walking to work, lunch breaks, walking in nature, especially and 100% every evening on trains and airplanes. The only times I don't read are when traveling by car and boat, because I get travel sickness. I'm definitely the type of person that you will see walking around with a book in their hands and for some reason not bumping into everything. I don't know how I do it, especially because I wear glasses, but for some reason I can. I think it's my superpower. Question number 10 is, what kind of books do you like to read? My reading preferences have kind of changed throughout the years, but honestly, I think the only genre that I 100% connect with is fantasy. And it took me a whole while to figure that out. But now that I have, I don't think I'm moving away from this genre. I'll always include things from other genres in my reading, but that will be the main one for a long time to come, 100%. I just love reading fantasy, especially if it has a big dollop of romance and mystery in there. I do love a good mystery, and I mean, everything is better with romance. So if it's a fantasy with those two elements, I'm there. Especially if it has the word cozy attached to it, because we are all striving for a less stressful life. But yes, let me just mention a few genres that I will probably never touch upon, because I can tell you with certainty I will never read them. And those would be thrillers and horrors. And most probably hyper-dramatic literary fiction, as super steamy romance and like kinky stuff. It's not something I can do. To finalize, I just wanted to share with you my book collection. I'll show you my bookshelves and how they're divided, but I also wanted to mention how many books I have on my Kindle and how many have been read. So I have 395 unread books on my Kindle and 150 read books. In total, I have 515 books on my Kindle. Physical books, I don't know how many I have. I could count it for you. Will I do that? I mean, why not? I'll tell you the number in a second. I wanted to kind of show you how they're divided. I have some adult fantasy separate from middle grade and young adult fantasy, the folklore, kind of more almost non-fiction books. I then have a section at the top of the bookshelf with some art books, a couple of romances, some graphic novels, and some other bigger books that I didn't have a place for. I also have a section for my classic books, a section for my literary fiction, and mystery books. I like to separate my read books from my unread books, which I keep closed off in a bookshelf. As you'll have been able to tell, all of my books are turned pages facing out, but within my bookshelves, you know, the closed ones, they're all turned the other way. And I really love having my read books this way so I can actually open my doors, look at them, kind of reminisce on the books I've read, and then close it up again. So I don't have to look at all of the colorful bindings every day because it's just too much information for me. I like to have a clean space, especially because we live in a very small place. And on the other closed bookshelf, we have non-fiction, my Harry Potter books, and right at the bottom, I have some jackets for books that I took the jackets off. Any special editions that I have will be in my other closed bookshelf with my read books, because the majority of the special editions are colorful and bright all the way around, and as I've mentioned, I just didn't want that many color and information out in the open. I think it's important to note that I love reading on my Kindle, and I also love hardback books. I thought I preferred paperback, but I have discovered that I do love a good, sturdy, big hardback. And yes, I think that's all for today. I'm making my way through my spring videos and my spring TBR, and I'm very excited to start compiling my summer one in the next few weeks. I really hope you enjoyed this video and that you have a nice day. See you next time. Bye.